It's story time with Mr. Burnett. Story time with Mr. Burnett. It's bound to be something that you won't forget too soon.
Hello, humans. Really good book to share with you today. It's a biography, story of a person's life. It's about Buster Keaton, and this book is called Keep Your Eye on the Kid, written by Catherine Brighton. It's the early years of Buster Keaton. It's a great story, great pictures, but also you may not know who Buster Keaton is, and you should. Movies today are largely made by huge studios with large budgets, and most of what you see is computer generated or enhanced artificially by technology. And this is a guy who was in the very earliest days of making movies 100 years ago, and they were just making it up as they went. He's also very talented. He developed his skills as an actor on stage before movies came about, so he was one of the people ready to take advantage of the new technology when movies were first being made. But he's really famous for not overdoing facial expressions and everything, and for doing his own stunts. Anyway, so we'll start our book in just a moment after a word from our sponsors.
Today's program is brought to you by air. You're probably a mammal, so if you're not breathing air, I strongly suggest you get some right now.
Keep your eye on the kid. The early years of Buster Keaton by Catherine Brighton. I was born in a rooming house midway between the church and the railroad in Pequot, Kansas. My folks were traveling show people. I was a backstage baby. I sat on frogs' knees and I talked to wooden dummies while Dad and Mom did their act. They were called the Keatons, and I was Joe Keaton, like my dad. Then, one morning, when I was fooling around, I took a tumble all the way down the stairs. Boom, 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 boom. Harry Houdini picked me up and gave me my new name. He said, "Gee, that sure was some buster the kid took. You had to know how to take a fall in our business." So instead of being called Joe, at that point he became Buster Keaton. And you had to be lucky, like the night I went flying. They say I got sucked out of the window by a tornado. I landed right there on Main Street without a scratch. Boy, was Dad proud of me. On the night I broke into the act, Dad threw me across the stage, shouting, "Keep your eye on the kid," and the crowd went crazy. Folks liked me better when I didn't smile. Dad would hiss, "Face!" at me, and they all cheered. That's the way it went, all across America. We worked at night, and by day there was always some guy to teach me how to soft shoe, shuffle, or tell me wild stories. I saw more of America when I was a kid than most folks do in their whole lifetimes. As for school, I only went one day. Miss What's-her-name said, "You, Keaton, give me a sentence with the word delight." Without thinking, I said, "It's dark. Turn on the light." Yep, I got expelled for wisecracking, and that was it. I never went back. Ever. But I learned things. In the long afternoons before the show, I'd clear out on my own. One day, I saw folks waiting to go into a store. It had a sign saying, "Moving Pictures, 1 hour for 5 cents. I followed them in. It was dark, and up there, on a sheet, was a big moving picture of the sea. I had never seen the sea.
Then a train came straight at us.
Did those folks jump? Not me, though. I just wanted to know how it was done. I asked the guy in the storeroom out back.
"Well, kid," he said, "this here's the projector. The film goes in here."
That kind of thing. I was hooked. As I grew up, every chance I got, I went to the movies. He's like magic. Dad hated the movies. He got real mad at me and we fought about it until I was too big for him to throw. So I packed my bags and headed for New York. I was looking for work. Then, on the street, I met my vaudeville pal, Roscoe Arbuckle. He told me he was in the movies. He took me to his studio. Roscoe was real good to me. I met his movie pals, and they explained things. Showed me how the studio worked. I'd never seen a camera up close before, so Roscoe said, "Go on, kid, take it home and check it out." That night, I took it apart, and then I put it back together again.
Gee, that thing. I loved it. Just the feel of it.
Next day, I acted in a movie for the very first time. It was The Butcher Boy. Roscoe knew the Three Keatons act. He knew I could take a fall. Did we have fun?
Not long after, we all headed for California. Long, sunny days for shooting films. Now, I'm making my own movies. Joe Shink gave me my own studio.
I have a gang of guys I work with. I'm the boss, but we all pitch in with ideas for gags. We plan it, we build it, then we shoot it. We plan it, we build it, then we shoot it. I'm making my name making movies. Even Dad has joined me. He's going around telling everyone movies are here to stay. I'm thinking I told him that some time ago. This was one of the famous scenes, one of his most famous scenes where they had a house and the front of the house fell and the window landed around him and just barely didn't smash him. And he's like, "Phew." Author's note. There's a picture of him. Buster Keaton was born in 1895 in Piqua, Kansas, where his parents were performing in the Mohawk Indian Medicine Show. His childhood was spent traveling across the states from one performance to another. The Keatons kept moving to avoid the Gerry Society, which worked to enforce the child labor laws. No child under the age of 7 was permitted to even walk on stage, but Buster was part of the act from the age of 3. His story has been recounted so many times that it's often impossible to separate facts from fiction. Buster himself told a good story, including the one about being sucked out of a window by a tornado. Another favorite story describes his father's response to an official inquiring about Buster's age. Buster was dressed in a suit and a tie at the time. It's said that Joe Keaton shrugged and pointed to Buster's mother. "I don't know, ask his wife." Buster acquired his agility and comic timing from working with show people and vaudeville performers. So when he encountered Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle in New York, it was a stroke of luck. Arbuckle had been a vaudevillian and had no hesitation in taking the young Buster under his wing. He was making low-budget movies in a studio where everyone contributed. The cameraman helped build the set builder fixed the lighting, the storyline and gags would change as ideas were bounced around, and most of the crew appeared in front of the camera when required. Buster fitted into this work pattern with ease. It was the way he loved to work. It was here that he learned skills he later used in his own films. Joseph Schenck was Arbuckle's producer, and when the studio relocated to California, Schenck funded Buster's movies. Buster developed a style that combined the clowning and stone face of his childhood with the visual tricks that became his trademark. While others overacted for the silent screen, Buster underplayed. He planned and carried out his gags with grace and agility that leave the audience gasping. He is perhaps best known for the much-admired gag of the falling wall in Steamboat Bill Jr., shown on the previous page, which still takes my breath away every time I see it. Buster made his best work in a mere 10 years. His most famous films include my favorite, 1 Week, 1920, where a train smashed through Buster's misconstructed house, Our Hospitality, 1923, The Navigator, 1924, The General, 1926, and Steamboat Bill Jr., 1928. That's the end of the author's note. So yeah, I'm gonna have a link. We're gonna watch some clips from Buster Keaton's mostly his famous stunts. There's one shot where one video where he talks, and you'll hear him talking. He was obviously older. It was later in life, and you'll hear him talking as you watch the stunts. But keep in mind, there was no computer graphics changing the thing. None of this was fake. None of it was false. These were all real stunts, and they didn't have stuntmen. Buster Keaton actually thought up and acted in all his own stunts. And I've read that he even would do stunts for the other people if they weren't able to do it. So he did all of his stunts and some of the other people in the scenes with him. So it's really amazing. Very talented, very creative, very fun stuff to watch visually. And I really hope you enjoy the clips we're about to watch with Buster Keaton. I hope you enjoyed this book. Keep your eye on the kid. It's a biography, a true story about an actual person's life. It's in 921. That's the section for biography. KEA, short for Keaton. Good biography. Enjoyed sharing it with you. Thank you. Thank you to my patron sponsors. I'm getting really, really wealthy on these videos. So appreciate your support. All right, gang. Have a great day. See ya.